Couldn't get to sleep just yet. I'm really troubled about that documentary that I heard about, Shock and Awe, which one of my fellow tenants here was raving about, and it's about the Iraq War, and I could tell that hasn't heard anything about me in the movie, and it should actually talk about me if it's about the Iraq War, because I am the Iraq War's biggest victim. But obviously it doesn't, and maybe that's even a big reason why the movie's being released. Not so much for what it does say, but for what it does not say. So that when you look back on the war, you will not remember properly what really happened, or if you weren't there at all, you won't be informed of what really happened in the Iraq War. In the Iraq War, what happened was that the government really needed to go to war, and that was quite clear from 9/11, that the government really needed to take the country to war, and I'm not going to argue with that anymore. They were obviously hell-bent on fighting the war. They were desperate to fight the war. But the measures that they took to fight it I thought were a little aggressive, and I spoke out against it, and I got just totally shot down. And it was at a very critical time in my life when I could have had a brilliant career as a star, but because of this war messed everything up, and it started messing things up around the year 2004 when I noticed bits of my essays winding up in George W. Bush's reelection speeches in April 2004 for his reelection. I noticed them, and I may have even pointed them out in my blog. My blog at that time held a large number of short stories, which I have reposted since, and poems and little comedy blogs too, little parodies. Like there was a parody of Tom Jones, It's Not Unusual. I had changed it to the words to be gloved by everyone. It wasn't that funny, but I do believe it was stolen in 2004 by Saturday Night Live. In 2004, and Saturday Night Live belongs to NBC, which is owned by General Electric, which is part of the defense establishment. And I swear to God, they took their fraud to be some sort of war measure. They really thought they were doing some sort of patriotic duty by stealing my work from my account at that time. And they stole it, and it was just getting started in 2004. And if you're not going to mention that the defense-owned NBC network was stealing my blogs in 2004, then your documentary is missing a vital fact. In 2005, a comedy sketch I wrote called Debbie Downer went south on NBC, on the Pentagon-owned NBC. Then in 2007, the proverbial feces hit the fan when I posted all those songs, and I just went crazy and added 1,000 comedy scripts to my Blogger account, and everything got stolen. We ended up with top 40 chart that was, half of it at least was my music in the hands of 10 different bands in the year 2007 during the Iraq War. During the Iraq War in 2007, we had a whole pile of new comedy stars also popping up using my blogs as their material, probably encouraged by comedians like George Carlin, who did it so successfully from 2006 until his death. But most notably, with respect to the Iraq War, the theft of my song Bird of Prey, my metal song Bird of Prey, I think points really directly to the Iraq War itself and to how the defense establishment stole my work to help their propaganda machine. The Bird of Prey song is a powerful metal song, and putting it on their video of their warplane was a great propaganda move, I'm sure they thought, on their part. And we all know that black propaganda, which is an acceptable war measure, a black propaganda pretends to come from your own side, when in fact it comes from the enemy. You know, so that would be, in other words, me writing a sincere work of music and then the other side taking it and passing it off as their own. Now the war, in a wartime I could see such a measure being necessary, but I'm an artist, and this declaring war on me is just simply declaring a war on talent, and it's a very destructive war. And it's also an illegal one. And so who's going to be the big victim in this shock and awe movie? Is it going to be the person who supplied all the music and comedy against his will through the whole Iraq war? The person who was targeted by an out-of-control defense establishment and left to right to the present, asking, you know, for his money, asking for his credit? Or is it going to be this Rosie O'Donnell who appeared to suffer briefly 11 years ago and then went to her friends, Mike Myers, who steals my things, or Tina Fey, who steals my things, or Ellen DeGeneres, who steals my things, or Jay Leno, who steals my things, went to them for a loan, you know, for a financial loan to tide her over until she could release this movie now and get all her riches back. Who's the big victim of this war? Who remains the victim of this war? Some documentary. Here's what I give it: shock, awe.